I'm James Ezimoha. Welcome to Africa News, where we bring you the latest updates from across the African continent. Let's dive in. At least 17 students die in a fire in northern Nigeria. Namibia's founding president, Sam Nujoma, dies at the age of 95. Libyan authorities recovered 29 migrant bodies in 2 separate locations. Namibia is mourning the loss of its founding president, Sam Nujoma, who passed away at the age of 95. Born in 1929, Nujoma led the fight for independence from Southern African rule and became the country's first leader in 1990. He served 3 terms before stepping down in 2005 and was officially recognized as the founding father of the Namibian nation. President Nangolo Mumba announced his passing on Sunday.
It is therefore with utmost sorrow and sadness that I make the announcement this morning, the 9th of February 2025, to the Namibian people, our African brothers and sisters, and to the world at large about the passing of our revered freedom fighter and the revolutionary leader, His Excellency Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma.
The death of Namibia's founding president, Sam Nujoma, has sparked grief and reflection across the country. Citizens in Windhoek describe him as a pivotal figure, not just for Namibia, but for Africa.
Namibians have taken to the streets of Windhoek to express sorrow over the passing of Sam Nujoma, the country's first president and a key figure in its liberation struggle. Nujoma, who led Namibia to independence in 1990, died at the age of 95 on Saturday. Residents say his legacy extends beyond Namibia, placing him among Africa's great revolutionary leaders.
Dr. Sam Nujoma's loss is truly grateful, not just for us, but also for Africa. He is one of the last standing leaders who comes from a regime where we can talk about Nelson Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah, Kenyatta's. He comes from a regime where they were truly revolutionary for Africa. And such a loss, him being one of the last great standing.
Going on forward from here, I think we should actually just live up to his legacy and uphold what he has built within the struggles that we have come within in apartheid and all that stuff. But I think we actually should really, really remember him by doing good.
I think there are many criticisms that our leaders have, but I think one important thing is that he is linked to the liberation of this country, a thing that we value highly, and I think something that back in the day, in his time, has been shown as something that really, really drives us as Namibians. So as they say, aluta continua, and sending condolences to the family as we grieve our elder.
Namibians continue to reflect on Nujoma's contributions, with many emphasizing the importance of upholding his legacy. The government is expected to announce funeral arrangements in the coming days.
African leaders have called for direct negotiations with all parties, including M23 rebels, to end the conflict in eastern Congo. At an unprecedented joint summit, leaders from the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community urged for immediate ceasefire.
At a first-ever East African Community and Southern African Development Community joint summit in Tanzania, leaders of the region are pushing for direct talks and an urgent military meeting within 5 days to de-escalate the conflict in eastern Congo. With thousands killed and millions displaced, the UN says the crisis is worsening, with M23 rebels, allegedly backed by Rwanda, capturing key areas, including Goma, despite a declared ceasefire. The summit's final communique outlined urgent measures, including ceasefire enforcement, humanitarian aid, and securing conflict zones.
The joint summit directed resumption of direct negotiations and dialogue with all state and non-state parties military and non-military, including the M23, and under the framework of the Luanda-Nairobi process. The EAC and SADC Chiefs of Defense Forces to meet within 5 days and provide technical direction on immediate and unconditional ceasefire and cessation of hostilities. B, provision of humanitarian assistance, including repatriation of the deceased and evacuation of the injured. C, develop a securitization plan for Goma and surrounding areas.
The recent escalation of hostilities in Goma and the surrounding areas is a stark reminder of the increasing fragility the situation presents, and that only collective action to facilitate a negotiated solution will offer relief. The time for action is now. The lives of millions depends on our ability to navigate this complex and challenging situation with wisdom, clarity of mind, empathy for the millions whose lives and livelihoods have been plunged into uncertainty.
The summit marks a shift in approach, urging negotiations with all parties, including M23, as pressure mounts to prevent further escalation. The defence chiefs meeting in 5 days will be a key test of whether peace efforts can hold.
Libyan authorities have recovered at least 29 migrant bodies in 2 separate locations in the country. A mass grave was discovered in Al-Wahat district, while 10 bodies were pulled from the sea after a boat sank. The Al-Wahat District Security Directorate linked the discovery to smuggling activities. Separately, the Libyan Red Crescent recovered 10 bodies after a migrant boat sank near Zawiya, 40 kilometers from Tripoli. Libya remains a major transit route for migrants trying to reach Europe. Authorities recently rescued 263 migrants from smuggling gangs. At least 17 students between the ages of 7 and 17 have died in a fire at an Islamic school in Zamfara State, northern Nigeria. Around 12 others suffered severe burns and were taken to the hospital. Authorities are investigating the cause of the fire.
A devastating fire swept through an Islamic school in Karan Namoda town, Zamfara State, last Tuesday, killing at least 17 students, police confirmed. Another 12 were hospitalized with severe burns. Authorities, including local leaders, have expressed condolences to the families, while investigations are underway to determine the cause. The tragedy has left parents and the community mourning, with officials promising measures to prevent future incidents.
We are here in Karan Namoda, this Islamia school, that we lost almost 17 out of our children, which is disheartening. We are sympathizing with the ulama that are here in this school, and also the entire people of Karan Namoda and the government of Zamfara State. We'll take measures that will prevent occurrence of this kind of problem that happen now, inshallah, as a government.
From my own side, 4 of my children of Gunduma lost their lives. Among them, there are some who are currently hospitalized. May Almighty heal them, and those who lost their lives, we pray may Almighty forgive their shortcomings.
It's painful. We are currently mourning for the lost. Whenever we remember the incident, we do shed tears.
Authorities have launched an investigation into the cause of the fire. The tragedy has left a deep impact on the community, with families mourning their losses and survivors receiving treatment in hospital.
Security forces in Somalia's Puntland region have seized large areas from Islamic State fighters after a weeks-long military operation. Officials say the militants included foreign fighters using forged documents, raising concerns about IS expansion in the region.
Puntland security forces have captured Belitadin, a village in the Golis Mountains, which had been under IS control for 10 years. The offensive follows the first US airstrikes under President Trump's administration, targeting IS bases in northern Somalia. Puntland's police commissioner says foreign IS fighters had been living undetected in local communities, using forged documents and vehicles.
It has come to our attention that the terrorists were foreigners who had been residing in houses within the town. These individuals possessed vehicles, documents, and even refugee ID cards. This has highlighted the need for a robust strategy to ensure the legitimacy of all documents and to maintain heightened awareness of foreign individuals in Puntland.
Security experts say Islamic State in Somalia has wider global connections than its size suggests, with links to extremist groups in Africa and beyond.
Security services have revealed, or they've exposed, links between IS in Somalia, what's also known as the Al-Qarar office, and affiliated groups in Central Africa, Southern Africa, Yemen, Sudan, and elsewhere in the world. So in that sense, I'd say that IS in Somalia punches above its weight and plays an outside role on the global scene.
In Bosaso, residents say security has improved significantly since the offensive began.
In the past, the country was not peaceful. There were many explosions, abductions, and problems in Bosaso day and night. We recovered from all those problems. Now, there are no problems. Problems were eliminated like they were in other towns, and they are gone from Bosaso as well.
Officials estimate Islamic State in Somalia has 700 to 1,500 fighters, many of them foreign. Analysts say Puntland could gain direct US security support as Washington reassesses its counter-terrorism strategy in the Horn of Africa.
Ethiopia is in the final stages of negotiations to restructure its sovereign debt under a G20 initiative. Finance Minister Ahmed Shide announced on Sunday the country's defaulted on its $1 billion Eurobond last year, and with external debt at nearly $29 billion, the government is securing financial support from international lenders, including the IMF.
Ethiopia's finance minister says the government is close to finalising a long-delayed debt restructuring process, which could unlock critical financial assistance. The country's external debt stood at $28.9 billion as of June 2023, with nearly half owed to multilateral lenders. Talks with creditors have been slow, but the minister says negotiations under the G20 Common Framework are now in their final stage.
Debt restructuring, support from IMF, support from World Bank is going to continue. We are in the final stage of negotiation in terms of debt restructuring as a G20 Common Framework countries. So we are on final stage of negotiation. That is going to be complete soon. This will also leverage significant support, which is already been part of the overall package.
International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva reaffirmed the importance of finalising Ethiopia's debt restructuring talks.
We are at the final stretch of debt restructuring, and I can say this, it is on the top of my priority list in engagement with the creditors of Ethiopia.
The government remains under pressure to finalise talks quickly as it looks to secure $3.4 billion in IMF financing and additional support from the World Bank.
That's all we have today on Africa News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to A News.